Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, we actually got a pretty major update today for the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. I'm actually a little surprised this isn't receiving more coverage than what it currently is, but Microsoft has now gotten a big supporter, which should help them finalize the buyout. You know, that is the big question right now, and whether or not they can actually get it through regulations. But with this update, the chances of that happening has certainly increased. So we will talk about that later on today. Also, one of PlayStation's first-party studios, Sucker Punch, decided to give us an update and just kind of clarify what they're currently working on, or, in this case, what they're currently not working on. Some fans might be a little disappointed by this one, but I actually do really appreciate just how straightforward they're being about the whole situation, so we'll talk about that one as well. Before we get started today, though, I wanted to let you all know about my friend, which is starting her very own Twitch channel. She will be streaming sometime here soon, maybe even as early as tonight. And now, I don't usually give out recommendations like this very often, but I thought I'd let you all know because, first off, you all are awesome, but also because I genuinely do believe that you all will absolutely enjoy watching her. I think that she's going to be a great streamer. She's an extremely outgoing person, she's very passionate, and she plays a wide variety of games. She really does absolutely love games, so definitely go check her out on Twitch. I'm going to drop a link in the description and comments below, so definitely, as soon as you get the chance, go check her Twitch channel out. With that said, though, let's just go and jump right into the news, starting off with God of War Ragnarok once again. Yeah, I know. It's been a rough month for God of War fans and everything. There were a lot of rumors last month, and, well, everybody was just kind of expecting that release date announcement to be made yesterday on June 30th, but things, they didn't quite turn out that way. However, we do have another small update today. This is coming from Jason Schreier once again, which in many ways actually was the person that started all these rumors in the first place last month. But let's just go and take a look at what he had to say about this announcement supposedly being delayed. He responded by saying, "After talking with more folks yesterday, I can definitively say that there was a release date pre-order announcement planned for yesterday. It was bumped at some point last week. I don't know why. Speculation is because of Roe vs. Wade. Also, PlayStation has been trying to keep secrets so badly that most Sony Santa Monica employees weren't even told about it. As of this week, the game is still on track for November. People working on it say it's huge and seem to be pretty excited about it. Reminds me of the buzz I was hearing before the 2018 one." So this is actually the second person that's come out and claimed that an announcement was meant for June 30th, but it was just unfortunately delayed for a reason that still kind of remains unclear. Again, though, don't get that confused. By all indications, it does currently sound like God of War Ragnarok will indeed release sometime in 2022. Of course, there's nothing confirmed as of this moment, and any news like this you should still take with a grain of salt and everything. But with that said, even the director of the studio that's working on this game, Cory Barlog himself, has suggested that it's not been delayed. So you can kind of take that as you will, but because Cory Barlog did say that himself, I'm on the side of things that this game will more than likely release in 2022. Next up, though, to start off the month of July, we do have another delay to talk about. I mean, we're kind of used to delays by this point and everything, but this time it's for a bit of a smaller game, but also an extremely exciting game, being Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars was originally slated to release in 2022, but the studio has now confirmed it's been pushed back to 2023 to both ensure the quality of life for their team, and then, of course, the quality of the finished game. And I do think that that's the right decision to make here. Obviously, we don't want the team to have to crunch or anything like that. And then also, I mean, this game so far, it looks like it could end up being a special game when it does eventually release. Sea of Stars is actually coming from the creators of The Messenger, which was an absolutely brilliant action platformer with a lot of personality. If you haven't already played that game, definitely go do so. It is absolutely fantastic. But we do know that they have talent to make a good game. But as you've probably noticed by this point, Sea of Stars, it more closely resembles an all-time classic, being Chrono Trigger. So when you combine the two and just how stunning this game looks, yeah, we want to ensure the game actually meets its potential, and sometimes that does mean the developers will need a little extra time. And yeah, we'll just have to look forward to 2023 when Sea of Stars releases. Let's go move on over to some of the big stuff, though, starting off with the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. This is something that we've been monitoring all year long, and it's almost like the entire game community is just collectively holding their breath. Everybody's on the edge of their seat, waiting in anticipation or even in fear in some cases, on whether or not Microsoft can actually get this nearly $70 billion acquisition through regulations. I mean, right now, we're witnessing something that we've never seen before. There's never been an acquisition of this size in the game industry, and it's really just industry changing if it does indeed go through. So with something of this magnitude, and with the FTC trying to be more strict on acquisitions, Microsoft obviously is going to face some type of scrutiny here. So far, though, Microsoft, they've handled things really well. The big thing is that they've been proactive rather than reactive. Earlier this year, they sent out a public message directed towards regulators to alleviate them of any type of concern. They've also committed to keeping popular franchises such as Call of Duty multi-platform, and there was even a recent report that we talked about on the channel in which Microsoft's president Brad Smith claimed that the acquisition is moving fast, or at least as fast as it can for an acquisition of this size, and it's in the beginning of the middle. Everything's going great in regards to this acquisition, and a big part of that is because, again, they've been so proactive, and that continues on. They're keeping their foot on the gas as they've now reached a labor neutrality agreement with the Communication Workers of America, aka the CWA, in June. The CWA is actually the largest communications and media labor union in the United States, which actually successfully established Activision Blizzard's first certified union at Raven Software back in May. So this union stuff has been bubbling up for a little while now over at Activision Blizzard, and this has been a big narrative for this entire acquisition. One of the reasons that Activision sold in the first place was because all their problems that they've been dealing with in the workplace, and that's really been in the forefront ever since. The FTC, the regulators led by Lina Khan, has been very vocal about their interest in considering the potential impact on workers. So with all of Activision Blizzard problems and the FTC just being more strict in general with these big acquisitions, this has been on their minds when considering whether or not to approve the deal. So what Microsoft is doing here is that they're now softening their approach to unions by reaching this labor neutrality agreement, which will go into effect 60 days after the Activision Blizzard acquisition is complete if it goes through. And because they've now softened their approach on unions and have reached this agreement, the CWA is now fully backing Microsoft's intent to acquire Activision Blizzard, and they have sent a letter to the FTC with their full support. Now, you might be wondering, why is this important? Why is this such a big deal? And really, just like I said before, the FTC very much has been considering the work conditions and employees of these acquisitions. So this could actually go a long way in helping Microsoft get through regulations, with them continuing to be proactive, getting ahead of this before FTC had to get involved at all. They went ahead and struck an agreement with the CWA. If anything, Microsoft continues to look better with Activision Blizzard than if Activision Blizzard was just on their own. So, I mean, everything just kind of continues to fall in line for Microsoft here. They seem confident. They've made some concessions. They've been proactive. This will be good for employees, and just all signs point to this acquisition going through. Of course, though, it's still a long process and everything, and nothing is necessarily definitive yet, but this is still a big step in that process nonetheless. Now, we also got an update from Sucker Punch today, PlayStation studio behind hit games such as Ghost of Tsushima, Sly Cooper, as well as Infamous. And one rumor that's really been making waves for the last year or so is that a new Sly Cooper and maybe even a new Infamous game are in development. This is something that we've talked about on the channel a few different times, actually, and as much as I'd love that to be true, especially for Sly Cooper, unfortunately, those dreams have been crushed today. Sucker Punch has indeed heard those rumors, and, well, they actually responded. You don't usually see developers respond to rumors like this, but check this out. For their 25th anniversary, they decided to go ahead and post this. As our games continue to grow in scale and complexity, they require the full attention of our studio. With our focus on our current project, we have no plans to revisit Infamous or Sly Cooper right now, and no other studio is currently working on projects related to those franchises either. These characters are very special and near and dear to our hearts, so while we never say never to reopening those doors down the road, for now, there are no Infamous or Sly Cooper games in development. We know many people still play these games even today, so So we'll be performing maintenance on Infamous 2 UGC servers, soon to move them to a new home that will keep them up and running a bit longer. We will eventually need to sunset these, but want to keep them running for as long as possible for players who are still active. We're also working to put Cole's Legacy DLC for Infamous Second Son, which was previously only available as part of the Collector's Edition, on PlayStation Store in all territories for anyone who missed it. So, I mean, the good news here is that, yes, they're making Cole's Legacy DLC more accessible. That's really nice to see. And they're also extending the life cycle of Infamous 2 UGC. That's actually a good thing and everything, but I do feel your all's disappointment here. The dream of a new Sly Cooper and Infamous game just kind of got crushed. If you weren't privy to the rumors before, it was basically being claimed that a new Sly Cooper was in development by Pixel Opus, which is the studio behind Concrete Genie. I actually feel like that's a pretty good fit, to be honest, but Sucker Punch is dismissing that idea here by flat out saying no studio is working on a new Sly Cooper game, or a new Infamous game for that matter. So I guess we're just kind of back to square one, which is basically us begging Sony to bring these games back in the future. Now, with that said, though, as for Sucker Punch themselves, based on some of their job listings, it does appear that they're working on a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, which makes sense considering the success of the first game. I mean, that game was insanely successful, especially for a new IP. So, I mean, I do know that a lot of people will still be really excited about a sequel if that really is indeed what they're working on. But let me know what you all think about all this in the comments below. Are you disappointed with the lack of a new Sly Cooper and Infamous game, or would you just rather Sucker Punch continue to focus on games like Ghost of Tsushima and maybe even more new IP in the future? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and it is the beginning of July now, so like every single month, I wanted to know what new game releasing in the month of July are you most excited for? And well, if you take a look here, the big winner is none other than Xenoblade 3 with 35% of the votes. And then second place is Stray. Then you have Digimon Survive, which takes third place with 12% of the votes. And then last but not least, we have Live Alive HD at 9%. Now, also, other received a good portion of the votes here with 17%, and just looking through the comments, As Dusk Falls got a lot of recognition here, which is really nice to see. And then there were also other games like Capcom Arcade Collection, Klonoa, and even Forza Horizon 5, the Hot Wheels expansion. That expansion really does look amazing, and just based off of their past track record, it probably will be amazing. But yeah, overall, I think that it looks like an overall fun month, especially if you like JRPGs. I mean, obviously, the big one here is Xenoblade 3. No big surprise that came out on top, as the first two games were absolutely phenomenal. But then you also have Digimon Survive and then also Live Alive HD, all of which are releasing in like a week's span from one another. It's really going to be hard to keep up for you JRPG fans out there. Stray, though, that one seems to be catching a lot of attention. It's kind of a strange game with you playing as a cat in a cyberpunk-like world, but it does look surprisingly good. I think if Stray is as good as it looks, it could actually be a big hit, and with it releasing into PlayStation Plus Extra and then Premium, that could be a really interesting game to kind of pay attention to. And that kind of goes to As Dusk Falls as well. That one's releasing directly into Xbox Game Pass day one, and even though it's a bit of a niche type of game being a visual novel, I think that if its story is really good and if it does review well, again, I think that it could be a bit of a hidden gem for the month of July. I think that that's kind of the way I look at July as a whole, though. It doesn't necessarily have all these big, massive standouts outside of maybe Xenoblade 3, but there's still a lot of interesting games here that I think will keep fans busy, and they do, I think, have some potential. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.